We're talking to Tyler Schau from agmarket.net based out of North Dakota. Now, Tyler, let's move over to the oil seeds. That's wheat. Okay, so tell me there's a better picture here for oil seeds like canola and soybeans, please.
Um, so there should be, same story. The canola market held up really well this summer. There's a lot of talk about the crush plants and the soybean oil market that's building here in the U.S. Canola definitely feeds into that as a seed stock. Uh, I think a lot of what you're seeing in the canola, this meltdown here over the last month, has really just been the production rolling off the fields in Canada and North Dakota. North Dakota areas, I always have to be careful. There were some areas that had really, really good canola production. There were some areas that struggled just a little bit, and canola production doesn't look quite as good here. But for the most part, you've seen a fairly decent production of canola. It is going to be, I was just looking at Ag Canada numbers. They've got their ending stocks coming in about 2/3 of what they were last year. So a pretty significant decline in production out of Canada. But there's still been some selling pressures coming in there. Soybean oil has just been under fire, really for the last week, especially, but for the last month, it struggled to hold up there. Again, I think you got to go back to the world economic issues, and where that world demand is for oil seeds, and that's just been weighing heavy on this market right now.
Yeah, we wait patiently for potentially the demand spark that renewable diesel and sustainable aviation fuel has been promising us, but that's not going to help us in fall of 23 or 24, it seems.
No, it's not. And we've had this discussion, some of the things you've got going on, especially in that soybean oil market. Yes, there is this coming supply, right? Or excuse me, coming demand from all these renewable plants that are going to come online. But, like anything, they're slow to materialize. The second problem you've got is a lot of the existing crush facilities in the U.S. are older. And the harder you push them, the more maintenance is going to be required, and there's going to be more downtime. And so, crush margins have been really good, which leads them to be crushing as heavy as they can, as quick as they can. But when you're running at max capacity that long, you're going to have breakdowns. You're going to have to slow down at some point for some maintenance issues, and that's been somewhat of a struggle. And I think, every week you look at the NOPA comes out with the crush report. And it seems here lately that what analysts expect, the estimates come in a lot higher than what the actual crush report reads. And I think that's just a function of our current capacity is at max and is currently being strained. And as a result, we're not able to crush as much as people think we would.
Yeah, and and as I think ahead, well, before I go ahead, I expect that what we're going to see in Western Canada, like, there's one thing estimating yield of wheat and of corn and soybeans. You're never going to be 100% accurate, but they're a lot easier, I guess, to get a handle
Yes.
around what you think they're going to be. Canola's tough, like
Yeah.
really tough. And as I talk to farmers across Western Canada, there's so much variability, not just mile to mile, but in one field. I maybe one of those opportunities that develops from a marketing standpoint is some surprises on revisions when it does come to the yield number or to ending stocks and things like that. That's something for people to keep their head up on.
Yeah. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of those numbers change. And you hit the nail on the head. That's, the biggest struggle North Dakota farmers have in marketing canola ahead of the game is that sometimes they think they're going to have a monster crop and it turns out to be a dud. And sometimes
Yeah.
it's the exact opposite. And then lastly, the white combine can roll through at any moment and take what seems to be a great crop of canola and completely wipe it out. So I know that's one of the battles we deal with helping our producers out is just, getting a good handle on what there is and then being comfortable forward selling it.
What's your guys' intelligence say on the predictions on the soybean yield?
We're still in that 50 bushel an acre range. I'll be right honest with you. For as much talk as there has been in the market about, how poor the yields are going to be, the yield reports we get, and our network between Ag Market and John Stewart and Associates is pretty wide, all across the Corn Belt and up into the Dakotas, down into Kentucky. The reports we're getting better than expected. I mean, it very far more better than expected, and average to above average crop yield reports than the opposite, than worse than expected or below average. So it hasn't given us any reason to come in and push that number on soybeans below 50. So we're kind of sticking with where the USDA came out with in the last report. Who knows if we'll get one next month.
Yeah, and right. With the shutdown, we were talking to Jim Wiesmeyer from Pro Farmer about that yesterday. Now, on the corn though, is that a different story? We've seen a lot of hot, dry weather in parts of, you look at a state like Iowa. I have seen a lot of pictures on Twitter, and Twitter's not a real place. Mm-hmm. But is there more reason to be concerned there? Could low 70s on the 170, or do you think we're going to surprise there too to the upside?
I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a surprise to the upside. I know that's not a popular opinion. I'm not ready. We're going to stay in that camp of that 173 to 175 range, somewhere in there. Again, most of the yield reports we're seeing rolling in are pretty strong in areas. A lot of them are coming out of Illinois right now. That was the area I really felt. That was the story there in June, right? It was how terrible that crop was. It was so dry. No way they could reproduce what they did last year. Last year that corn yield by the USDA was really held up by Illinois. The weather was bad. We know that. Western Corn Belt, Nebraska, Kansas, terrible crops, to be right honest with you. But it was picked up by Illinois, and I think they had a 210 state average last year. And so that was kind of the thought process through the summer was, Illinois was going to be well below last year's 210 number. I'm not going to, who knows where it'll come out, but I can tell you the numbers we're getting in right now through the state of Illinois are pretty decent. They're not as bad as we probably need them to be to really pull that national yield down. So I'm not looking for huge reductions. I will say as a caveat there that a lot of that's early planted, early maturing corn that missed that was mature before that last heat wave came through in late August, early September. So
no, that's an important point. Thanks for making that distinction. This is harvest time. This is where the numbers all start to come in, and we're going to need, based on what I'm hearing, we're going to need some sort of shift in the demand equation here to deal with some of the supply based on some of these balance sheets that people have written. A lot of focus on demand, I think, here as we move into the winter months.
Yeah. We've got to find somewhere to go with it. We know we're going to have fewer cattle to feed. Not looking for the hog number to grow significantly. So it's going to have to get on a boat and go somewhere. Ethanol is profitable right now. They're pushing hard as well, but you can't just build an ethanol plant overnight. So we've got to find a market for it somewhere.
Yeah, in both Canada and the U.S., you think about the spring wheat as an example where we started. There's going to be those, the two countries going head to head trying to get to get into some of these markets to deal with some of the supply. So, hey, Tyler, thank you so much for joining me. Really, really appreciate it. Great work over there at agmarket.net, and look forward to our next chat.
You bet. Take care, Shaun.